Vous avez appris que c'est chez vous que ça se passe?
Ouais, j'ai appris que c'était chez moi.
C'est-à-dire?
Bah, j'ai appris que c'était chez moi et que les individus sont retranchés chez moi et que voilà. J'étais pas au courant que c'était des terroristes.
Et expliquez-moi, vous habitez où?
J'habite rue du Corbillon, là où ça a tiré.
Et comment vous expliquez que ces personnages se retrouvent chez vous?
Bah, on m'a demandé de rendre service, j'ai rendu service, monsieur. On m'a dit d'héberger 2 personnes pendant 3 jours et j'ai rendu service normalement. Je sais pas d'où ils viennent, d'où... On m'a dit d'héberger 2 personnes pendant 3 jours, j'ai rendu service normalement. Je sais pas d'où ils viennent, d'où... On est au courant de rien, monsieur. Si je savais, vous croyez que je les aurais hébergés?
Vous disiez que vous saviez qu'ils venaient de Belgique?
Non, je savais pas. On m'a dit ça là, à l'instant ce matin. Je l'ai appris comme vous.
Et vous les connaissiez ces personnes?
Non, je les connais pas du tout, ni d'avant, ni de...
Oh là là, c'est du amour.
Sales to... Don't you know who's actually fighting in Syria? It's mercenaries. Do you know that mercenaries are people who fight for money, and they actually fight where where the pay is higher? You know, they get certain amounts of money as payment for waging war. They have arms supplied to them. But once they find out that in another country the pay is higher, they will actually migrate there because they're looking for more pay. They managed to gain control of some oil deposits in Iraq or in Syria. They started pumping oil there. Do they have buyers who buy oil from them? Yes, they do. Why aren't sanctions imposed against those buyers? Doesn't the United States know who those people are? Isn't it their own allies who actually buy oil from terrorists? Don't they have the capacity to influence their allies? Or is it that they don't want to influence them? If not, why are they delivering airstrikes against ISIS right now?
Monsieur Urvoas, vous êtes membre du Parti socialiste et de l'Internationale socialiste. Le Parti socialiste turc, pas moi, le Parti socialiste turc, accuse le fils de Monsieur Erdogan d'être celui qui organise la contrebande du pétrole clandestin qui vient de Daesh. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on répond à ça? Comment se fait-il que cet argent circule? Comment se fait-il? Le pétrole, ça ne s'emmène pas dans des barils, on ne vient pas avec son jerrycan, c'est des camions, c'est des tuyaux, c'est des bateaux. Comment on n'est pas capable d'arrêter ça? Donc, monsieur le maire avait raison.
sécurité?
Aujourd'hui, mettez-vous derrière le gouvernement et aidez le gouvernement à défendre les Français comme il le fait actuellement.
Il ne le défend pas, je suis désolé.
Il le défend très bien et avec beaucoup plus de fermeté et d'efficacité que tous ceux que vous avez soutenus jusqu'à alors.
Mais vous savez que Daesh existe depuis 3 ans et que c'est pas la peine de nous bassiner avec Sarkozy.
Depuis combien de temps?
Al-Qaïda que vous soutenez en Syrie,
mais vous soutenez en Syrie. Vous vous rendez compte de ce que vous dites?
Mais je le dis,
vous rendez compte de ce que vous dites?
Vous soutenez Al-Qaïda en Syrie.
Mais vous êtes fou.
Non,
vous êtes fou.
Écoutez, d'abord, je vous permets pas de m'insulter.
Non, mais vous ne pouvez pas dire.
Je suis tout à fait.
Vous ne pouvez pas dire que la France soutient Al-Qaïda.
La France soutient.
Merci de justifier ces propos assez étonnants.
Voilà, non, ils ne sont pas étonnants. Je vais vous expliquer. La France soutient les rebelles syriens qui sont soi-disant des rebelles démocrates. Des rebelles syriens démocrates en Syrie contre M. Assad.
C'était au début de l'insurrection.
Qui a récupéré les rebelles syriens démocrates? Al-Nosra. Qu'est-ce que c'est qu'Al-Nosra?
Vous savez bien.
Al-Nosra, c'est pas Al-Qaïda?
Pas tous les rebelles, vous le savez bien.
Ah, pas tous les rebelles. C'est-à-dire, certains rebelles ont été récupérés par Al-Qaïda avec des armes françaises.
Monsieur Gazienne, vous ne pouvez pas dire que la France soutient Al-Qaïda.
Nous continuons à fournir des armes à Al-Nosra par l'intermédiaire des rebelles syriens. Mais je le dis, je l'ai dit à M. Le Drian en commission de la défense, je l'ai dit à M. Fabius, comme tous les autres députés. Il va falloir éclairer tout ça.
Hello, welcome back to Press TV's live coverage of the terrorist attacks that have happened in Paris. Well, joining us for the analytical part of this live coverage, we have Ken O'Keefe, former U.S. Marine, who joins us in the studios here in the capital, Tehran, and Rodney Martin, who's a former U.S. congressional staffer, who joins us from L.A., Los Angeles. Thank you, gentlemen. Ken O'Keefe, I'll start with you. This should, I would think, be a warning signal to some of the countries supporting the terrorists in the war in Syria, in particular the U.S., Turkey, and Saudi Arabia.
Yes, well, I hope actually that it's even more of a wake-up call for us to realize that we are ISIS, that the Western governments that are in bed with Saudi Arabia, who is the primary funder of ISIS, along with Qatar and other Gulf states, we not only provide the political cover and military assistance to Saudi Arabia while it slaughters innocent people in Yemen, but we also provide the cover for them to go ahead and do their dirty dealing with these psychopaths who are running around Syria and other parts of the world as well, Iraq. I believe that it is beyond any doubt for any sensible person to realize that not only is the United States providing the financial cover, military cover, political cover for these terrorists through our proxies, but we've also, in pure technical sense, provided the training for these people in Jordan and Turkey. Another one of our best friends has been shuttling these psychopaths across the country from Turkey into Syria for a long time now. So, the idea that the West is actually fighting a war against ISIS is beyond ridiculous. So what we really need to do is start realizing the fact that we are ISIS, and the reason why our corrupt, treasonous governments are carrying out these policies is because they do not represent us, they represent the bankers, and the bankers make a hell of a lot of money off of war, and more importantly, as long as we're all fighting each other, as long as we're all not trusting each other, as long as we're all simply being played as pawns over and over, then they can maintain this tyrannical system of never-ending war. So this is really the wake-up call. What has happened in Paris is us. We are responsible through our corrupt governments for all of these policies, and even if these individuals who carried this out are not directly working for Mossad, CIA, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all the same thing, even if they did this organically of their own volition, believe me, that is exactly what our so-called governments want. That is what the policy that we've been fostering over and over. And quite frankly, if we're to look at ISIS, ISIS stands for Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. They never attack Israel, and that in itself also tells you a lot about who these individuals are.
Well, some of the events there, Ken O'Keefe, that our guest Rodney Martin talks about in terms of Islamophobia being created again, or more policies to exercise against Muslims, well, maybe this is what the intent is behind these attacks, if there are any hands at play behind the scenes of some of the countries involved in this so-called war on terror.
Well, indeed, that's the case, and it's just more of the same now, isn't it? Now, I'm a non-Muslim, and I am angry at the way Muslims have been portrayed around the world. I have lived in Muslim lands, and I have experienced some of the greatest hospitality and generosity that you will ever experience. And yet Muslims in general are being associated with this monstrosity, this most recent monstrosity known as ISIS, which again I say is Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, and also Al-Qaeda previous to that, Al-Nusra Front. All of these things are intended to smear Islam as a whole, 1.8 billion people on this planet, to associate them with this sort of madness, when in fact it is us in the West that are creating this stuff, funding it, very much protecting it. In fact, America has been providing air cover to these psychopaths in Syria and Iraq largely, and we see that when Russia comes in and actually does something